draft science video presentation. So the twat, the real definition of one. Stephen Bruff. Okay, so yeah, I could do a 44-second video on his name changing, which he clearly does to his convenience. But anyway, just it's so bad. I mean, he's got all this Dunning-Kruger crap in all of these videos when he is the perfect definition of the effect of the concept of somebody way overestimating their competence. He keeps doing his filthy, dirty, sloppy experiments. They're all corrupt. They have obvious flaws. None of them are good enough to present to Professor Lewin, for example, as evidence that he's wrong, because he's asserting that he is wrong. Okay, but he doesn't have the guts to tell him he's wrong. And none of his little coward, trolly friends have the integrity to say, well, if you're going to tell Gary he's wrong, then you ought to tell Professor Lewin he's wrong, and you ought to tell that Dr. Lincoln guy he's wrong, because it's not what they believe. So that's the joke here. Okay, even the people he's defending. Okay, I mean the 200-year dead Émile Chatelet was defending a theory that's completely different than the modern one. She was defending a different science altogether, and you're saying that she's been exonerated or something, or somehow no one should say, hey, she was defending something that was 100% wrong. No one should point out the facts, right? They're just totally irrelevant to this conversation, and they are. And that's part of the whole, how just evil this little lying putz is. So this is the last time. I'm just not going to play this horse shit. What the hell is this? He steals some girl's image to try to make me into a wife beater or something. What the fuck is this fucking exaggerated horse shit? The D. Hilster thing. There's no controversy here. Okay, I mean, I didn't realize that I actually did a shout-out video for him. I didn't realize it. So there, he's claiming I'm lying about something when I didn't even realize. Somebody made an accusation that there was some shenanigans between me and David. There was no shenanigans. It was all public record kind of stuff. I don't think he liked my review of his movie much, because I reviewed it honestly and said I didn't see you prove Einstein wrong, frankly. It's a nice little personal story. It's got nice music, but fuck, it's really not a proof that Einstein's wrong. You shouldn't title something Einstein's wrong if Einstein isn't even really in the story, frankly. It's just so fucking stupid. There's, what the fuck is this crap? And then he's going to, Gary contradicting himself. 44 seconds of quote mining. Yeah, lots of people can be caught saying things like, well, photons are infinitesimally small, electrons are infinitesimally small. But yeah, of course, compared to a photon, electrons are insanely large. That's the way the universe works, okay? You have to measure things sort of relatively. That's the way we see them. And we use words for the circumstance. And he's going to call these contradictions. What a pile of shit. It's just so stupid. Yes, in one case I said it's the smallest distance between the surfaces. And then I changed it because I said, well, it's always the case that the center impediment is the smallest distance. Because I really didn't think people made slit experiments where there's two little tiny slits way over here. I didn't think that was sort of practical or sensible. So, yeah, the fact is that the rule changed. Okay, because, I didn't realize people made slit experiments that I didn't envision as being meaningful or practical or useful. But anyway, it doesn't matter. This is all just such bullshit. Then he makes 3 videos about cornstarch BS. What BS did I say about cornstarch? I mean, you won't find any quotes of me about cornstarch that are BS. I mean, I watched the fucking cornstarch do it. I mean, here's cornstarch. Here's hitting cornstarch with a hammer. You obviously have to hit with a velocity or it doesn't work. And you obviously have to put in enough energy to solidify the surface of the cornstarch. So there has to be enough surface area, obviously. But look, you can see in this example, it's not much surface area and it's a pretty high velocity. And the fact is, it stops the frickin' hammer. So if you did an experiment to measure energy based on speed and velocity, you would find that, yes, the fast thing will go right through, the slow thing will go right through the cornstarch, no problem, and the fast thing will stop. And if you measure the distance of how far it went into the material, if that's how you measure the energy, you would conclude that fast things don't have any energy and slow things have a whole bunch of energy. And so it'd be the inverse of the clay. Now, how the fuck is that BS? There are literally thousands of these kind of videos on the internet. Thousands. I played one of them in my video when I said my BS, whatever the BS was. So, this is so fucking stupid. What the fuck is he arguing? So, we're not going to play 3 different videos. It's the same subject, same icon. So we'll give him his most opportunity. We'll give him his little, whatever this is, 8-minute video. So he goes to all this trouble to do these experiments, and he does them shittily. So it's just perfect Dunning-Kruger. It's just perfect definition of this is what retards do. Sloppy shit. So what the hell is this? Silly Gary physics. So he thinks he's proven E equals Vm squared. And the people he defends, Charlet and Leibniz, said it was Vm. Yeah, there's no half. So he's doing it too. So he thinks it's the inverse, right? There's no 1/2 in front of here. So, that's the difference. So he's saying, well, this is my theory. Let's understand, I never proposed this would be the theory, okay? I was just proposing it as an example of the inverse circumstance. Obviously, it wouldn't be Vm squared, it would be m the square root of v. Okay, that's what it would be. You would diminish the velocity by the same proportion you exaggerate it. So just as much as they exaggerate it. And obviously there would still be a 1/2 in front of it. This is so pathetic.
This is actually pretty hilarious because he's accidentally proved kinetic energy right. He was trying to do the exact opposite.
Oh, yes, sure I did. Sure that happened.
Was it? Well done, Gary, for proving kinetic energy correct. Round of applause for Gary.
Alright, so what's the waste of time crap? You're just saying, what the fuck is this? Again, this entertains what? What kind of brain finds this at all useful in a science discussion? There's an argument about science, and this is the crap he's going to do. He's going to waste people's time with this shit. The same shit I could do. I could waste a big pile of time taking a bunch of clips of this stupid clown, okay, saying and doing things and putting them in this kind of crappy order. What the fuck is this? So this is his real talent in life, is silly mockery. And then he complains about bullies on the internet. The hypocrisy is so deep. Because he's stupid. He doesn't even know what hypocrisy is.
Hey, that was fantastic. Round of applause for Gary for proving kinetic energy correct.
Great job.
Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. So say none of us.
Jesus. God, you just can't get what you deserve soon enough. Yes, I'll speed it up if this is all it's going to be.
It's quite a funny video, really. Gary making a fool of himself again, shooting himself in both feet. Look, for those of you who don't know, Gary, he's been claiming since before last Christmas that kinetic energy doesn't exist, and every possible excuse, every possible lie and deception to try and maintain.
Let's understand, they don't have a single shred of evidence. I have begged to be emailed the link. I've even suggested I might even pay for a really good link showing kinetic energy. So if you have a really good link and you can convince me, I might even pay you $50 for a really good link showing 4 times more gasoline to go twice as fast. Anything proving the existence of this fake, phony, false nonsense. There's not a single bit of experimental evidence that has any credibility at all showing two things with the same momentum having different energies. That is, changing the world, moving more atoms. Yes, the bullet looks impressive, but it's 1,000 times lighter than the frickin' stock of the gun. The fact is the gun's moving more atoms, and it can move more atoms, at a slower speed. But it's more. It's a lot more. Thousands of times more. Okay, yeah, so they're going 1,000 times slower, but they have 1,000 times more soldiers in the army. I mean, it's just so fucking obvious that's the reality, and there's not a single fucking piece of evidence indicating otherwise. Not one frickin' video. So let's understand, that's the context here. I'm asking for you to show me, and you can't do it, shit for brain.
Maintain this illusion that he suffers from, that kinetic energy doesn't exist. And today he's been repeating one of his many stupid claims that cornstarch, corn flour, when mixed with water into a Newtonian liquid, food I think it's called. He's claiming that would do the exact opposite in the Emily du Châtelet clay experiment, which played its part in the history of kinetic energy. Gary?
Right, so he's going to do something slow versus something slow. Two slow things won't work. You have to compare a fast thing against a slow thing. Obviously, if they don't bang the hammer fast enough, the cornstarch won't solidify and it won't work. Is that what he's going to argue? Is that the catch he's going to use to escape this? That would be also true for clay, frankly. If you compare things that are going really, really slow versus something going just a little bit faster, yeah, you won't get very dramatic differences.
Cannot abide Emily du Châtelet. He even said that she deserved to die in childbirth. He even said she got...
Yes, exactly. I'm just saying, there's absolutely, frankly, okay, a scientist who's reckless. Look, she was a bit of a slut. All right, having a kid at 40 is really a dumb idea. The whole thing is just, yeah, well, you bought into a whole life is magic philosophy, and so you got what the magic is. The magic is it's going to kill you. And she knew it. So, I mean, frankly, why play this game? She was a big life promoter. She got what she deserved, which was a real shot of what life really is, which is you just made your kid an orphan. I mean, it has dumbass written all over it.
What she deserved when she died in childbirth. Terrible thing to say. Horrible.
Why? Because you're a religious kook, right? I mean, there's no other reason to say, people should get what they deserve. If they promote something and push it on other people, then maybe they should get a good taste of it themselves. If they're going to say, here, I'm going to give you life so you can die. Well, then maybe they should die tragically first to show how fun it is. Because they're sentencing one of those kids to probably a pretty tragic death, dumbass. Some sort of horrible, long-term cancerous death. Well, why don't they do it first? If you think it's such a great idea, do it first. What's the big deal? So yeah, there's lots of good, salient, perfect arguments to explain why, yes, people should get what they deserve. If you're going to promote it, you should get a big fucking pile of it. You're going to serve dirty, stinking, rotten food at a restaurant, then you should be eating it yourself, fuckhead.
No idea why people support her.
She got what she deserved since she died having a baby.
Yeah, other people...
So that was the extent of the philosophical conversation. So, you're just not allowed to say something like that. Just add up 2 + 2, frankly. She did shitty physics. She promoted it because she had a big pile of money. She propagandized for it. It's garbage. It's now stuck in the middle of physics. Frankly, yes, it's a tragedy. All the way around.
Tragedies are funny to you, aren't they, you horrible, vile bastard?
She got what she deserved.
Alright, so what the fuck does this have to do with the subject? Not a fucking goddamn thing. He's the horrible, vile bastard, okay? He would create homeless people. He thinks it's a good idea for poor people to have kids they can't afford to take care of. He suggests they could do it more and more often. Yes, 12-year-old girls should have all the babies they want because they want them. This is his fucking idiotic doom philosophy. This fucking goddamn sadistic, masochistic asshole. Look what he's done with his own fucking alcoholic bastard dumbass life.
She died having a baby.
Or physics girl, or any other female in science.
Oh, what a pile of crap. Okay, I mean, I linked to that woman who does all those history videos. Is that because, that's some kind of plan of mine? And it's unfortunate that, a couple of those videos have been crap, and I've treated them just like I would treat a man promoting this kind of crap. So again, this idea that you can make me into a chauvinist is absolute nonsense. I've never voted against women. I've said women should have all the power. I've pointed out how we wouldn't even have a decent civilization without giving women the vote. If it wasn't for women, we wouldn't have a civilization. There'd be no Social Security. There'd be no workman's comp. We'd all be goddamn fucking slaves to billionaires. That's the truth. Men are morons. I've said it more than 1,000,000 times. Okay, well, it's more than 1,000 times. In my videos, there's probably 1,000 references to how much I have absolutely contempt for how fucking mediocrity you fucking males are. How fucking feeble and stupid you are. How thoughtless and cruel you fucking idiots are. So, if anything, I'm a man-hater, fuckface. And you do have a fucked face.
But he has to pretend that it's for legitimate reasons, that it's their science he objects to, when really it's just the fact that they're a woman, or rich.
So he'll never find... Yes, I don't like the rich. Yes, that's right. I don't like people who squander money, squander people's labor, think they're worth it. I'm worth $78,000 a day. I have fresh flowers, and I have maids, and I have servants, and I have all this shit, and they clean the sidewalk for me, because I'm a high-maintenance cunt. Yeah, I hate those people. And women with money do exactly that. At least men waste it on some kind of toy. Okay, women waste it on absolute bullshit.
Or French. There's something mentally detached about it. Calling their work silly, girly thing.
Oh, fuck you. Again, I said it one time in a video. Big fucking deal. But that's what it is, okay? And I gave the explanation. I mean, women haven't been doing this very long. And so what do they think being emancipated is? They think being emancipated is, I'm free to be as dumb as a man. I'm free to be as big a stinking, smelly piece of shit. Okay, they're not aspiring to be a complete human. They're aspiring to be what they've seen as an example, which is a lying, conniving, shyster male. I want to use men the way men have used women. So they're trying to duplicate the crimes of the male. They're not trying to aspire to the best of what a human could be. So that's where they fuck it up. But it's because they haven't had enough time for them to absorb the concept that their brain does work and that they can do logic and that doesn't have to be in any way just mimicking.
Why say such horrible things about people just because they're female? And then in the next breath to try and make up for it.
So there's no fucking video here. There's no fucking video.
Have fun.
If you made your clay out of cornstarch, you would have the formula they'd be defending now would be 1/2 Vm squared.
This is actually pretty hilarious because Gary's accidentally proved kinetic energy right. He was trying to do the exact opposite. He was trying to prove that cornstarch would give you different results in clay.
I pointed out I can take cornstarch.
Could he get to the point here somewhere? I mean, is there some dispute that cornstarch does the exact opposite of clay? Clay yields to velocity. So the faster you're going, the easier you get through the clay, the less energy you give to the clay. And cornstarch does exactly the opposite. The faster you're going, the more the cornstarch says, I want your energy, and it takes it. Now, how, in any kind of reasonable way, can he dispute that? Now, those are facts that are just so undeniable.
You make a kind of gooey clay out of it, and it'll give me exactly the opposite answer. It'll give me exactly the opposite answer. The faster something goes, the less it'll penetrate, and the slower it goes, the more it'll penetrate.
And cornstarch actually gives you better results than clay. It proves kinetic energy right because when you drop this rod, this heavy rod, it's 13 ounces. When you drop this from 4 times higher, which equates to twice the velocity, it goes more than twice as deep. The experiment goes like this. I drop it from 10 inches.
Okay, so let's so he thinks this now proves that all of these videos demonstrating hammers stopping at the surface isn't true. It doesn't happen. So I could just play the videos, the hundreds of science videos demonstrating the effect pretty clearly. Pretty clear. It didn't go through the cornstarch, okay? It bounces off the surface. Pretty clear. I mean, it's kind of deniable. And because it doesn't happen unless you put in enough energy to actually... See, it needs enough energy to actually solidify the surface. If there's not enough energy, total energy, it can't do it. So you need enough velocity to get the energy into the surface quick enough. So if it isn't quick enough, it doesn't do a damn thing. So if you're comparing slow thing to slow thing, it won't work at all. The faster it goes, the harder the surface gets. So there's the hammer just going through, go through slowly, goes through just fine. So, I mean, I'm not going to play a bunch of cornstarch videos. I mean, this is just too stupid. Ugh.
You call that V1, and then 40 inches high, which is V2, twice the velocity, because you have to go 4 times higher to get twice the velocity. So at V1, 10 inches, it kind of bounces off the surface. Yeah. I can catch it. You'll see me catch it, because I want to see how deep it goes.
The slower it goes, the more it'll penetrate.
Are you sure, Gary? Are you sure?
I'm sure that every substance has variabilities depending on how fast you make it go through. So I'm sure that there's clay that you can put a bullet through it, and if the bullet is too fast and too hot, it'll actually slow it down more, okay, because you'll burn the clay. I'm sure there's circumstances. There's tolerances for everything. So just like when you did the silly other kinetic energy experiment where you used a wobbly spring, okay, to produce the acceleration, and the spring didn't have enough, it wasn't a stiff enough spring. This is a real thing, stiffness. There's a constant for it, okay. You used too low a spring with too weak tolerances for the experiment you were doing. Yeah, those are real things in the world, Steve, and you don't understand them. That all these things have tolerances, and they change their behavior when you're outside of those tolerances. Thermometers have maximum numbers on them. Yeah, just a fact, asshole.
Oh, well, that's good enough then. Wait a minute. No, it's not. Gary always talks bullshit, but I don't want this to fall over. So I'm dropping it and then catching it immediately. It bounces off the surface because it's a Newtonian liquid. But when I go 4 times higher, in other words, twice the velocity, it sinks straight in. The exact opposite of what Gary's been claiming.
The faster something goes, the less it'll penetrate.
Looks like more to me. Up to about...
Okay, so he's saying the cornstarch doesn't work somehow. Okay, so he's proving that cornstarch has this catch. And yeah, the catch is you don't have enough surface area. Alright, so yeah, if you point the object, it'll go through the cornstarch. So yeah, there has to be enough surface area based on the velocity. So these are the circumstances in which cornstarch does its thing. It doesn't do them when you don't have the right circumstances. I didn't qualify the statement and say, oh, wait a minute, Stephen Bro is a big idiot, so I have to explain to Stephen Bro that this doesn't work with any velocity or any shaped object. The guy hits it with his fist. His fist has a pretty good surface area. Surface area matters. Oh, God, you're such a fucking idiot.
Approximately that much.
The faster something goes, the less it'll penetrate.
The faster something goes, the less it'll penetrate.
It sinks in approximately that much. But I can't then grab it because when I grab it, it lifts the tin because it's got hold of it. The Newtonian liquid has got hold of it.
The faster...
It's actually a non-Newtonian liquid. He's calling it a Newtonian liquid. It's a non-Newtonian liquid.
Something goes, the less it'll penetrate.
Once again, Gary, your wishful thinking, your desperate guesses. I've not done you any favours.
All right, I'm sorry. Your insanely incomplete experiment shows absolutely nothing to anybody who cares about science. I mean, if that's all you got, that's all you're going to show us. But again, listen, understand. He went to all this trouble, right, to buy cornstarch, mix it, do these experiments, all of this crap, for only one purpose, okay, to attempt to attack me. And in doing that attack, he's attacking every single person that's made assertions in these videos about what cornstarch does. Okay? So all of them he's attacking also. Oh, look, he's actually going to hit it with a sledgehammer. So, I mean, what the fuck? It's just too silly. So he's used one example to say he's defeated a principle that's well established and well proven. Come on. Because he didn't use a stick with enough surface area.
Ended up proving the exact opposite. it sank in about 4 times deeper than Gary predicted. Gary predicted it would sink in less, but no, it sinks in more. It does exactly the same thing as clay, as far as I can determine. Okay.
Oh, okay, so he thinks clay is the same as cornstarch and behaves the same way, even though the experimental evidence is undisputable. I mean, there are literally thousands of these experiments. There's people walking on cornstarch. Is that what happens with clay? No, it's not what happens with clay. Oh, pathetic.
I can do it more accurately, but how can you deny the fact that when it's going from V1, it bounces off the surface and I can grab it, no problem every time. But when I drop it from V2, twice the velocity, I can't grab it because it lifts the tin up. It lifts the container up. It lifts the container up because it's...
Why would you want to grab it anyway? And the fact that it lifts the container up is also a feature of cornstarch. So again, that's not terribly interesting. It really doesn't have anything to do with me making the simple generalization that clay is a lousy thermometer. It's a lousy way to judge something's energy. How far it will penetrate a lump of clay is a garbage scientific experiment. First, because the clay is never consistent. Clay also is temperature dependent. I mean, you can go right down the list. You can mix the clay differently. You can have different elements in the clay. It will react differently. It's going to give you different answers. It's a terrible way to do science. That was my argument, all right? And where in this pile of shit did he do anything but prove me exactly right? That you can manipulate experiments to get the results you want. That's exactly what your heroine did. She engineered experiments to get the results that proved her theory, and she didn't pay any attention to all the evidence that said otherwise. All the other experiments she no doubt did herself that didn't come out the way she wanted to. She highlighted what demonstrated, which was affirmative evidence. So like a lawyer in court, let's just hide the fact that I have evidence that he owned the gun. You know, let's just lie about what my client is to the jury, and I'll be doing the world a favor. And that's all she was a propagandist for a theory, and that's all you are. And the only reason why you're propagandizing isn't to preserve the truth, isn't to defend science, it's to attack me. And that's all you've got. You're such a petty, lowbrow, cruddy human being.
Sank in so much deeper. Remember, it's supposed to sink in less.
So he's going to just keep repeating the same things, right? He's just going to keep repeating something that has no relevance because he did the experiment his way, and he's pretending that you can't do it any other way. So even when his great heroine did the experiment, they used shaped objects that were the same shape. Okay, they had a consistency, and they didn't use pointy objects. They didn't use something that would create different results. So you're just pointing out that yes, the way you shape the object can change how it's going to be, what's going to happen as the effect. The same thing would happen in ballistics. If I make the hollow point bullet, I get a very different result than if I don't hollow the point.
According to Gary's claim.
So if I wanted to make it m squared v, all I have to do is use cornstarch, and I can prove m squared v.
Go on then, do it, you big-headed cunt.
I don't need to do it. It's right fucking here in front of your face. Let's play the guy hitting it with a sledgehammer. What the fuck? I don't need to do it. I really don't need the slow motion part. Alright, so let's see him stepping. Okay, so he jumps on it, can't get in. He steps in it slowly, and he stinks. Okay. And it takes a while for him to sink, so that is true. Oh, I thought he was going to hit it with a sledgehammer. Well, that's kind of disappointing. Maybe sledgehammer didn't work. But anyway, I didn't make any deep scientific claims about the function of cornstarch and the fact that it has to be triggered, that there's a process that takes place that freezes the surface. It's a little more complicated than clay. It's not the exact inverse of clay, but the simple argument is it will give you could certainly force it to look exactly like the opposite of clay. So if you do the experiment with the right shaped object, it'll give you exactly inverse results. That is true. And he won't prove that wrong. He won't prove that to be any kind of lie or deception. I mean, he's just such a slimy character.
Show us how your cornstarch is any different to mine. Go on, do it.
No, the stick would be different. The object I'm going to use to make the comparison would be different.
Calling your bluff. You're not going to do it, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to waste money on cornstarch to do completely useless, redundant experiments. Why the fuck would I do that? It would be stupid. Your obligation is to prove how clay always produces an accurate result. That clay is the most dependable thermometer in the world. It measures energy perfectly. It doesn't have a bias for fast things. No, it doesn't take less energy out of fast things at a slower rate. That's not true at all. Did you do that? Did you ever measure the temperature of the clay and how much energy was actually absorbed by two different speed objects? No, you didn't do any of the experiments that need to be done, jackass. Your claims are still insanely unproven.
You bone-out fucker. Dropping at low velocity through a metal guide plate.
The cornstarch reacts exactly the opposite. It lets the slow thing go right through,
No, it doesn't.
and it stops the fast thing right on the surface.
No, it doesn't.
So he says it as if it's true, and we all, like I said, we can all know 12 millimeters deeper. You know. So again, the form of the object matters. All right. So Madame Chatelet didn't use a long shaped object and drop it into clay. That's not how they did the experiment. They dropped round spherical balls. Okay, that obviously have a pretty high surface area to mass ratio. Unlike these objects, these daggers.
Dropping at high velocity through a metal guide plate. If that isn't proof that Gary is wrong and that kinetic energy is able to overcome the Newtonian characteristics of cornstarch, then I don't know what more proof Gary wants.
The un-Newtonian.
The kinetic energy is correct. He's managed to prove it himself by suggesting an experiment he said he'd done, and he hasn't done, unless this is another.
I never said I did the experiment. I mean, just another fucking lie by this lying sack of shit. Disgusting. Disgusting that people reward this. Look at these fake trolls. The troll shows up with his fake sock accounts to make 19 upvotes for an absolute pile of shit as an experiment. Again, would you debunk anybody on Earth with this pile of crap? D. Hilster's Einstein's Wrong video was more honest than this is.
One of his silly thought experiments, like the one with the string, like up there that he never actually did, that I had to do for him. 18.
And again, just proving my point. Proving my point that there's only a certain number of vectors. That's what it proved. It proved the very point I was making, that the distance between the two sources dictates the number of places you can possibly have constructive interference. And it's completely dictated by that distance. So he proved me right again.
Months and he never actually did it. Mesocosmos ended up doing it as well. He believed Mesocosmos. He didn't believe it.
So again, Dunning-Kruger, he thinks everybody should just do, I should do my own lensing experiments, you know, optical lensing experiments. I should just hold the lens up to the sky and see how much stars move. Every amateur idiot should do experiments. I mean, look, I just showed how the DeCinti guy, who spent a lot of money, 3D printers, all of this bullshit to make a stupid experiment to prove the Faraday paradox really exists. And it's all for naught because he didn't consider one simple fact, okay, that, yeah, he's still spinning his stupid experiment inside of the magnetic field he induced in the copper. So he's not measuring any electricity that's in the copper. I mean, a simple flaw. So that's why amateurs are great, is because they can keep making propaganda videos about their free energy and their, you know, I'm gonna, you know, light speed isn't consistent and this and all this bullshit they're promoting, and he thinks that's a good idea. Don't do experiments the right way. He thinks Dr. Lincoln explained the double slit experiment, even though he just talked about an impediment experiment. He thinks the other guy, the physics demo guy, did a great job. Didn't describe the slits at all. No slits in the experiment. Well, and that's the double slit experiment. You think that's a great job. The other guy titles his animation double slit experiment, and it only has the dimension of the impediment in the math. That's the double slit experiment again. He thinks all of that crap is good science.
That was a silly experiment. The one that Gary was supposed to have done 18 months ago. But
So he can't stay on the fucking subject, right? So this is supposed to be about how cornstarch doesn't behave with an opposite bias. An opposite bias to clay. Clay has a bias for fast things. Cornstarch has a bias against fast things. There's general statements. Those two statements are unassailable. That's an unassailable argument, Steve. It really is.
Another. Can't show you all the experiments. All the experiments I have to do, Gary, is that Gary.
Right. All the experiments you haven't shown us. So just let's understand, he has all kinds of shit in the background. You can see he's done all kinds of experiments. Why haven't he shown those experiments? Could it be that they didn't turn out the way he wanted them to? And that's why we don't get to see them? Because the results aren't, something he can abuse, making a whatever this is, this clown video.
And he never actually does do. My house is just littered with experiments that Gary should have done but never did.
Right, and we don't get to see any of it. So that's how much he cares about this honest, science crap. Bullshit. Propagandist, that's all he is. And again, he's not a propagandist for the principle, for the science. He's not saving the integrity of science here. He's just trying to attack me. He's just trying to knock me down. Just trying to find some catch, some frailty, okay, in my character, or I have reptile skin or something. He's trying to find some superficial thing that doesn't matter, okay, just to attack me, because he doesn't want me to be right. That's it. There's nothing else motivating this little petty creep.
Vacuum tube, double slit experiments, high voltage spaced across the magnetic fields, curved surfaces, radar. He doesn't do any of them. He really is just a waste of space.
I'm a theoretical physicist, asshole. I don't know whether you noticed that, but that's basically what I'm doing, is theory. Okay? I don't claim to be an experimentalist. Now, if I had, I am a machinist. I mean, I did work in, doing this kind of work. If I had the facilities I've pointed out before, I would do more experiments. But I really don't have the space. I mean, you've all pointed out, I function in a little corner of a basement. I don't have the liberty to, put an experiment in the living room and fuck with this bullshit. And it wouldn't matter anyway, because I don't have the equipment or the materials to do any, to do it right. And if you're going to bother doing it, you should do it right.
He's lied again. He's never done this experiment. Not in a million years. He knows
again, I never lied. I never said I did the experiment. This is just such an insane lie. So why, of all your little quote mines, didn't you play the clip where I said I did the experiment? Why don't you play that clip, Steve, you liar?
Done it. We all know he hasn't done it. He doesn't do any experiments. If he had, he would know that it proves kinetic energy correct, rather than...
Okay, obviously doesn't. So, again, so he thinks that's all he needs to prove it, is that I can create one circumstance where it works, but all the other circumstances it won't work. So if he just takes that stick and gives it twice the dimensions, all of a sudden it's not going to work. So, this is just, isn't that the definition of horse shit as an argument? I mean, where, Steve, is there any evidence in any of the videos online, okay, demonstrating that velocity is the key to forcing the cornstarch to react by freezing, essentially? The surface rigidity. Where is there any indication that anything else but speed decides?
Well done, Gary. Well done. On this occasion, I think you really do deserve a clap. Well done, Gary, for proving kinetic energy correct. Round of applause for Gary.
Go, Gary. Oh, that was fantastic.
Alright, so again, that's for himself, obviously, right? So he thinks he made some contribution to science, just like Madame Chatelet proved mv squared. Not 1/2 mv squared, and no, she proved a formula that was 100% wrong by current standards. It would give an answer, her answer would have been 200, the new modern answer is 100. It's that far off. That's the difference between 100 degrees and 50 degrees.
So Gary, for proving kinetic energy correct.
Great job.
Oh, he's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good
So
fellow.
he does the same shit over and again. See, he just
So say none of us.
no imagination at all.
Carry it.
Just do the same joke over and over and over again.
Yay!
He really he's having fun, like being. I'm trying to think of the clodhopper, the sidekick in the westerns, the person who would never really survive, Jesus Christ, so bad. All right, so anyway, obviously no proof in this. So there was, whatever, 14 seconds of an experiment. We don't get to see the actual experiment. We just see pictures of it. You know, whatever. And obviously, again, I didn't stipulate all the conditions under which cornstarch reacts. Obviously, there has to be a certain minimum velocity. So we can all agree on that. Without the minimum velocity, it ain't going to work. So, so yeah, there's no point. Why didn't you drop a hammer? Okay, so, you know, why didn't you do the more dramatic experiment? Drop hammers at different speeds. I don't know. But whatever. It doesn't, like I said, he thinks he proved it. So he's unproven that, so cornstarch doesn't have a bias for slow things. It doesn't let slow things penetrate deeper. He's proven it doesn't work. All of these people with these fake experiments online, they're all fakers. It's all fake. This is fake physics. Because Stephen Brozo has the truth. This never happened in reality. Okay, that he makes the cornstarch, dips the ruler. Now see, the ruler works too. So if he moves the ruler fast enough, it will react. See? Yeah, it's not going through. So it even works with a ruler if you give it enough velocity. But if you don't have enough velocity, that's if you drop a wooden stick and, you know, people aren't dropping things into cornstarch, they're pushing them in. High velocities. So that's an obvious difference. So Stephen did the experiment on purpose, just dropping, you know, because he was duplicating what the clay experiment did. But he wasn't duplicating it with objects that had enough total energy to cause the surface to solidify. I think it would solidify at those speeds if you used heavier objects, because the heavier objects would actually have more momentum. I mean, you know, actual momentum because of the higher mass. So they'd have more energy and they'd be able to force the reaction in the cornstarch. So if you dropped heavy enough objects into the cornstarch, it will solidify. Alright, but anyway, it doesn't. So anybody who thinks this, he's proven some fundamental physics. He did a good elemental physics video here and proved elementally that clay works. Clay is a very good way of measuring energy. It doesn't have a bias for fast things. No, it tells you exactly how much energy something has. And let's understand, the clay experiments didn't prove 1/2 mv squared. So let's understand that the clay experiments from the 1700s, okay, so 26, okay, those clay experiments, all right, proved mv squared. No half in front of it. The clay experiments proved this. So how could the clay experiments now be stated to be accurate if they proved a theory that isn't the current theory? That's actually 100% different answers. 200 versus 100. So the results are 100% different than the current truth. And yet somehow the clay proved it. So what's true, Steve? Do you say that the experiment was so good that this half is really wrong? Do you have the integrity to say that? That the clay proves that the 1/2 is wrong? This clay is such a good way of doing an experiment? So, I mean, obvious bullshit. So if you want to find the bullshit, you go to Steve's channel. He's the one lying to you. He's the one trying to deceive people. He's the one with the chicanery and the tricks and the bullshit, okay, trying to deceive, trying to propagandize for things that aren't true, and pretending he's doing it in the name of some honor or for the dignity of mankind, when no, he's the indignity. He's the example of what's all the things that are wrong with the human race. He's a little backstabbing petty weasel who's resentful of the fact that I'm more of a human being than he is. A lot more. Yeah. And he doesn't like that. And so he can't fight an honest fight. So all he can do is lie and cheat. Because he's an idiot also. Let's just understand, he's really stupid. Yeah. He's really, really stupid. Alright. So, enough of a video. Just amazing. It'd be really nice if we would just diagram, you know, all of you people who want to defend kinetic energy, just diagram how the energy is transferred. Okay, so say I'm going to lose the energy. I'm going to give it to the world. Why don't you just show me the bowling ball, okay, and just calculate for me the pins. And just show me that the 8-pound ball will give more energy to more pins than the 16-pound ball going half the speed, you know, half the velocity. Why not explain to me how the 8-pound ball delivers all this extra energy to the pins? That they somehow get twice as much. There's twice as much pin movement in the universe. Why don't you just explain how it's transferred? Like, how does the 8-pound ball going 16, how does it actually transfer the energy? How fast does the first pin leave? How fast does the second one leave? How fast does the third one leave? How do you get twice as much energy? How do you do your transfers? Do you really think this thing can make, this thing going 16 miles an hour, let's say, can make the pin go 22 miles an hour? Do you have some experiments that show that happening? Because I haven't seen any. I mean, there's no theoretical reasoning. There's no logic to what you're arguing. Did you take two things with the same momentum and you're saying somehow the one thing will make things move more? How can it do that? Anyway. Alright. I do hate this planet. It's just covered with assholes. Anyway, so this has been a Draft Science video presentation. Until the next time, it's